Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Look at who has joined us. It is Denise Crosby, part of the family.
Hi, kids.
Also part of the family, of course. So good to have you back. Malissa Longo is here as well.
Hi.
Now, today we're doing a very special episode. We're doing a mailbag episode. Our patrons and donors sent in a bunch of questions. We are going to answer a bunch of them. We're going to have a lot of fun. And hey, if you think of more questions, add them in the comments below, and we'll get to them retroactively somehow through the... make sure you like this video. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel. If you're listening in wherever podcasts are found, please give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We really appreciate it. And now, on with the show. By the way, how are you, Denise? It's been a while.
Oh, I'm so good. It's great to see you guys. Always. I'm back from GalaxyCon in Columbus, and right before that, I did Galacticon in Denver. So, back and strike over, and here we go. Kind of winding down for the year. So no more appearances for me, except right here on your beautiful Zoom screen.
Yay! So we definitely did. The reason for a mailbag episode, everybody, is because we've just finished and closed the book on seasons 1 and 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Season 2 was kind of a shortened season, so we wanted to fill it out a little bit more. And before we turn the page and embark on season 3, we want to look back. And so these questions are specifically about seasons 1 and 2 of The Next Generation, because they're kind of like their own microcosm of weirdness before we move forward. Denise knows.
Before some writers actually come on board.
Some good ones.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Are you guys ready to start with the first question?
Yeah.
Do this.
All right. Actually, Malissa, would you like to read this first question? We're going to start with an easy one to get us warmed up, like just a super chill one.
Okay.
Here it is.
For the group. Ooh, yay. What was your favorite Mr. Data episode and or scene for season 1 or 2? Thank you. Chuck A. Yay.
So I guess I'll start with this to give you guys a little bit of time to think about it. Shoot, I need more time too. Melissa, can you buy us all some time? Can you buy us some time?
Mr. Data was who?
Mr. Data. I really, well, he has so many great moments in season 1 and 2. Measure of a Man. That's one of my favorite episodes ever, because it's just so wonderfully done, wonderfully written by Melinda Snodgrass. It's really great, and Data has some wonderful moments in that. But I also like him in Elementary, My Dear Data, and because that was fun. Oh, and wasn't he in The Big Goodbye? I like that episode too. Where he was from France, wasn't he? Or something like that.
No, actually, that's what I was thinking might be my favorite scene or moment for Mr. Data, was when he goes, and this is Mr. Data, or this is, and he goes, Carlos from South America. And I was actually thinking that's going to be what I'm going to say, because it's just, it gives you the first hint as to why people like Data so much, is because he's just so beautifully clueless in a lot of ways. He says Carlos, and anybody looks at him is like, you don't even look like a human, but let alone a Carlos from South America. You got no accent. He's not from South America, or we'd probably be able to tell. I don't know if the universal translator can change accents or anyway. It's beautiful. It's clueless. It's innocent. It's fun. It's like this lighthearted innocence that hurts nobody. It's makes people laugh. It's very charming and cute. And that's what I like about him. But Denise, you look like you're going to throw something out.
Well, I was just thinking that, that is so emblematic of who Brent is. He brings that to his role so well, because he is so funny in real life, and he's so witty and sharp that he just is able to, Data could have been played so differently by someone who didn't have those qualities. So having just seen him last weekend and laughed my butt off with him again. And I looked at him and I said, I'm your best audience, because he just cracks me up, as he did constantly on the show. So, which leads me to the moment that I love so much with him, of course, is in The Naked Now, yes. When I ask him, if he's fully functional, and it's still ridiculous. I mean, his face was just said everything. I begged him not to look at me while he's acting, because I couldn't keep it together. It was just so funny and so silly and interesting at the same time. So that would be my personal favorite with him.
Yay.
Yeah, I have so many favorites too. I think that one, Denise, is one of my favorite as well. Brent is so amazing at playing this character. He does it in a way that seems very innocent. It's comical. It's intelligent but naive at the same time. So it's amazing. It's such an amazing note that he hits with his performances. I used to watch Cheers a lot, and I would love the way Woody Harrelson played that character. And it was, sometimes it was witty, sometimes it was just so dumb, but it was just ways that he hits these notes. And Brent is so amazing at hitting these kinds of comical notes that are also meant not to be comical, but also told in a robotic way. So it's like he's just so many different things that are going on when he's giving these performances. So one of them for the second season that I thought of was when Pulaski is saying something to the effect of data, what's the difference? And he says, well, one is my name, the other is not. And Perfect. Just the way he delivers that line, I thought it was fantastic. And also, when the question was asked, I was thinking Chuck was talking about, are they asking the moments when Picard is frustrated with Data and he's like, Mr. Data, I thought that's enough. I thought that's how, I thought that was how the question was, I interpreted the question when I first heard it. So I was thinking, where were the moments when Picard really was just like, all right, that's enough, Data, and I thought of the episode Schizoid Man, where Data's giving a eulogy to the doctor that was in that episode, and in that eulogy he was going on and Picard is obviously done with this eulogy, and he says, I'm almost finished, sir. He tells Picard, and Picard says, no, you are finished.
You are.
It just wonderful back and forth between the two of them. I love the way Picard shows frustration when he feels like Data's just running on too long and just giving way too much backstory. We don't need all this information right now. That's enough. And so, that's another kind of comical interplay between the characters that I have really come to enjoy watching these first two seasons.
I love that you made the comparison of him to Woody, in Cheers.
Yeah.
I never made that connection, but it completely works. Like as soon as you said that, I thought of two Woody quotes that fit perfectly with Data's personality. One is when someone says something to the effect of whatever that line is about, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar or something like that. And he goes, maybe I shouldn't be butting in, but you could catch the most with dead raccoons or something like, it's just, that's a Data line, you say, actually, you can catch the most. Or when there's that French guy, Henri, that is, like my idol basically. And he's always like, Woody, I'm going to steal your girlfriend. And then Woody very innocently says, Henri, I don't know how things are in France, but in America, we don't go around saying we're going to steal other people's girlfriends. It's not polite. Like he says, he knows. Anyway. So here is, I'm never going to be able to not connect those two now.
Yeah.
Here's the next one from our good friend, May Borello. May Borello says, to all four of you, is there an episode in either season 1 or 2 that you find yourself thinking about from time to time? It might not be a popular episode, but it had a lasting impression on you. Thank you. That's a great question.
Yeah, any episode where Riker's getting laid, that just pops up.
Doesn't narrow
which
it down
is a lot
much.
of episodes. Like first half the episodes there.
Oh my gosh. Big impression.
What was that they were the Justice? That Justice episode?
Yeah.
That I sometimes go back to just because it was that, fun to watch everybody kind of indulge in that.
Orgy.
In that orgy.
All of the oils.
Yeah.
Oily, those outfits. So I can't, like, once you see them, you cannot not see
You can't unsee it.
Especially because I Google it every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen people cosplay, not very often, maybe like twice in 36 years in the Justice outfits, and I'm like screaming, it's just not to be believed, that they go there. God, that's pretty good. Boy.
I also say that outfit you were rocking in the Naked Now, that just flashes back every once in a while. That silver with the headband and everything, looking all ready to go.
Oh God, that
was a great deal.
The I Dream of Jeannie outfit that could actually show a navel, that she wasn't able to in her day, and they came along.
Just a reminder for everybody out there. There's a little sketch.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, right on cue.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
I have that picture. I have a picture on my table when I go to these cons of that episode from the Naked Now. And Whitney, who is Brent's assistant, came over to my table this weekend, and she just looked at that photo and said, "That is the greatest thing I have ever seen." I was laughing so hard, but that's one that pops into my head every so often.
You know what pops into my head, and it's just kind of a random. It's like the one Angel 1 with the dude showing a little nipple cleavage. With Riker showing a little nipple cleavage and the tall women, and I don't know if it was because of the guest that we had who was so amazing, or if I just didn't really recall that episode, but that one kind of pops in my head sometimes. The one that had a lasting impression on me throughout ever since I saw it like 30 years ago was Arsenal of Freedom, when they're shooting those AI leggings, eggs cases. I think those are the ones that, when I look back at those, kind of stick out. The Antikins and Sele too, just because of the cool makeup.
Yeah, that was
Lonely Among Us, I think.
Yeah, I have to mention conspiracy because heads blowing up and disgusting tube grubs on the table. It's so memorable.
I also remember the moment, it was a LeVar Burton moment when Geordi was given his sight and he was saying how, he didn't want it. I don't know, there was just emotionally, it connects with me when I think back on that moment.
Well, Emissary kind of does that for me too. It had an impact that I didn't expect it to have. So,
what I think of often actually is some of the guest cast that were aliens that we didn't get to see again, like Dr. Solar. Like I keep looking back, like they introduced this character in the second season, a Vulcan doctor played by Susie Plaxon, and it was great. And then you look at all the possibilities. Oh, now our lead doctor character has somebody to play off of in medical episodes, or they can have one on the ship and one on away mission, because you need more than one doctor on a ship. That you might need one on the away mission and one on the ship. Like, it just seemed like it opened the door for more. And then they just had the one episode and never saw her again. Or like the two Benzites we were introduced to that John Putch played, both of them, Mordock and Mendon. I thought that would be cool to have Mendon, Ensign Mendon, as just a character. Or Sonia Gomez, who was introduced in the second season. She was in 2 episodes in a row. It was clear that they introduced her to have her as a recurring character, because she wasn't really part of the story. They just kind of showed that they crammed her in there just to give her an introduction, and then never used her again. It seems she left the show, or there was something like that. And then it's just a lot of those kinds of situations that I look back at, because there's so much potential. And obviously I look back at Tasha Yar. Just yesterday I was thinking, because my mind always wanders, I think, what would happen if somebody else left the show? Like if Riker left the show, would they replace him with a new character, or would Tasha Yar become the first officer? And I started picturing Tasha Yar as the first officer, and how great that would be. We would love it. I'm sure, Denise, you might get a few more lines. You would need a cardboard cutout of your legs back there.
Yeah. Well, I think...
Yeah. I mean, again, it especially when I go to these cons, and you have fans coming up to you saying, what a missed opportunity, with this character. And, again, that is absolutely, having watched them with you guys, you really clearly see that they didn't fully explore this character enough.
I would have been really interested to see what Michael Piller did with Tasha Yar.
Yeah.
Because he was wonderful with character development, and he would have, taken her to some really interesting places.
I have a kind of a general question. This is from, because I don't know. Is there a security ops person on the original series?
Chekhov.
Was there a person? Chekhov was the security.
Okay. It wasn't very as obviously, placed, or it was just kind of, they needed a security officer. So then they're like, okay, well, let's put Chekhov isn't designated to anything on the show, so we'll just kind of, make him that. But he wasn't. I don't believe he was ever introduced initially as our new, chief of security
officer.
Like
and was Chekhov wearing the color, a different color relative to the other?
Original series, the colors actually flipped after original series, which is really strange. So everybody in gold in the original series translates to red in the Next Generation. So these guys were in red. So the red shirts were actually security people and engineers and things like that. It's all kind of
okay.
So Tasha would have been in red in the original series.
Okay. I was just trying to see if they had already done a good job at identifying that role and, written well for it in the past. It doesn't seem like it was a clearly defined, well-written kind of role in the past. And clearly when, Denise is doing it, that it doesn't seem like they have a clear idea of what they want that role to be either. And it only becomes clearer later, I think. Not even in the second season, I really felt Worf really starting to really fully feel like the security guy, but it's not even developed yet.
I don't even know what the intention was in the first season bringing Worf in, except that you wanted to have a Klingon on the bridge. I think that was really all they had in mind. So it was like, well, what are you doing here? And again, it felt like that so much to me. Throughout,
that was a late addition, from what I understand, on the Chaos on the Bridge.
They said he was the last one, right?
That was a Gene Roddenberry kind of rewrite, from my understanding, that he created Q and Worf on his rewrite of Encounter at Farpoint.
Somebody else. I think Gene was opposed to having Klingons on the bridge. And it was somebody, but I don't remember who it was that like kind of snuck him on or something like that. But he was the last addition, I believe, is what they were saying. And like, it sounds like they just wanted to have a Klingon on the bridge, be more inclusive, be more sci-fi, add extra characters. But I don't think they had a role for him. They're just just kind of be there. We'll figure it out on the fly.
You'll help Tasha, but what is Tasha doing? So it was like a big blob.
Whereas later on in Deep Space Nine, they had a very clear agenda for Rene Auberjonois and his role as security officer. They gave him the backstory that he was part of the Deep Space Nine station prior to the Federation taking over. So they gave him a really good backstory. They gave him an outlined position and role. And he was the main kind of adversary to balance off of Armin and the Ferengi that they were going to have on board the station. So there was already, the conflict was built into that too. So they had a clear vision of, there's going to be conflict between these two characters. He's going to be a tough, strict security officer who's not really that strict, but appears to be.
Can you imagine if they would have done that with Tasha and Worf?
Yeah.
Like he comes in and he is also part of the security detail, but she's like, I don't need you. And he presents that she's right?
Yes.
And they would go head to head.
Yes.
That he would be infringing upon that role, that detail, and there would be all that male female hostility built in. You're not as strong as a Klingon. Oh yeah, you want to try that? It would have. There's so many possibilities. In hindsight, we can see that, but it wasn't happening.
Well, and it's interesting that Worf and Data were the only non-humans on the bridge at that time versus Deep Space Nine, where there are mostly aliens and ops, and Captain Sisko and Chief O'Brien were the only humans,
right?
And
kind of a reverse. And then we've got Deanna Troi, but she's only half Trill. She was half human, half Trill, and Picard hardly listened to her anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did I say?
Trill.
Trill. Yeah. Definitely not Trill. Cirroc, you are in for a treat when you see the Trill in the Next Generation. You're gonna be like, "That's a Trill? We do not discuss it with outsiders." All right. So we've got, half Betazoid. Here's another great question. You want to read this one for us, Malissa Longo? It's kind of along these lines, so it's pretty relevant.
Did you witness any transformation in yourselves while watching these episodes? That is, did any of the episodes have a message that truly resonated with you? Greg Kenzo. I guess that's to the group.
Well, let's see. Again, my experience was a little bit different in just going through the season one again for the first time. I've talked about it before on the show that I don't think it would have happened had this opportunity not presented itself. I mean, I seriously don't know if I would have ever seen them again. So that in and of itself is, a gift that I was able to, at a distance, watch with a certain perspective and just appreciate it, reinforce sort of the reason that it exists at all, that it's loved and people watch it. And I had a certain connection with the role of Tasha Yar. And so, it was really, that was transformative for me.
I can say that, like, for me, I thought that I'd seen all of Next Generation in syndication on reruns as back in the day. But turns out if I had seen these first two seasons, I do not remember about 70% of it. Some episodes I remember little bits, like certain scenes or certain characters. No episodes do I remember, like, had I remembered totally, completely, except for maybe Arsenal of Freedom, because I feel like that one I saw a few times in syndication. That one kept coming up, so that was the one that really stuck in my head. And the one, what's it called? A Matter of Honor, where Riker goes over to the Klingon ship and Mend on the Benzite in the second season comes onto the Enterprise. Those were the only two I really had a very clear memory of. The others I either had no memory or I just had little flashes. Oh, and of course the first episode, Encounter at Farpoint. I'd seen that one a bunch of times. So that's what was transformative to me, was just getting a much better understanding of what I supposedly called my favorite show. But I'm like, you got to see the whole thing to be able to call it that. Otherwise, you got to see the good and the bad, not just season 7 and call yourself say that's your favorite show. I'm like, oh, season 2, episode 4. Nah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to see that one yet. I don't know. What about you, Cirroc? Any transformations or anything that resonated with you?
Well, the biggest transformation for me was kind of seeing everybody performing and doing their acting. I feel like I know everybody from, being on the lot, and, we're in the family together, but I didn't really know them for the work that they were doing. And watching these actors perform and give them their best and watch the process play out, and also watching them break ground on some kind of new thing, a new idea, expanded farther than it was before, and really, laying the foundation for a show like Deep Space Nine to come around. It gives me a different level of respect for the work that they did, for the appreciation that I have for the work they did, which was able to build this legacy, and the successes that they had in Next Generation allowed for all of these various shows that came afterwards, these subsequent shows, and there's been so many of them now, and that really lays heavy on the groundwork and the foundational work that everybody on the Next Generation did in these first 2 seasons and subsequently throughout the show. So that's one thing that transformed for me, is just that I have a newfound respect for people that I already felt a kinship with, but now I feel a respect for the craft, the work that they put in, the performances that they gave, And seeing those performances just, lets me know, okay, they really picked some of the best people they could find out there to bring this vision to life. It's not easy to completely take this world of space and living on on the spaceship and make it work and make it believable. But it takes creativity. It takes great actors who have the imagination and are also willing to challenge themselves and giving a morality as a baseline for this imaginative creative space. So that's the transformation for me, is I have a whole new respect for the people that came before me and laid down some amazing foundational work for an entire genre of storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I was asking you if you felt transformed by anything. Sorry.
Well, I have a similar response to both Ryan and Cirroc in that watching the first two seasons, I most of it I hadn't seen before. And so it was neat diving into this new world and discovering and taking deep dives into kind of a new launching pad for Star Trek as a whole. And seeing that through line through to current Trek, we're still seeing many of these seeds that were laid in these first two seasons in Trek today. And that's kind of awesome to see. And I love everybody's commitment, especially the actors in the first two seasons, to this material, because it wasn't always secure in the message it was trying to put out. And I got from these first two seasons, that message was always a positive thing and always trying to show humanity in a positive light. And maybe it was a rocky start to begin with, but the intentions were good.
Mm-hmm. Cirroc's like, did you say intendant?
The intendant. No, but the heart was in the right place. And I was kind of blown away by how progressive some of these messages were for the time it was created. And Chaos on the Bridge really gave me an appreciation for those struggles and seeing what was going on in productions and on the sets and all of these bigwigs who have kind of archaic ideas of how things are done and what messages should be told. Star Trek has always been pushing against those archaic ideas, even if they stumble through bringing that to the audiences. So I have a very good appreciation for what these first two seasons did, because they muscled through. You all muscled through it.
Totally. So we're going to take a quick break, everybody, if you can believe that. But we have so many more awesome questions and some good answers, probably. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton and Denise Crosby.
Hi.
Hello.
Malissa Longo and myself, Ryan T. Husk. We're hanging out, too, because we're lucky. All right. It's kind of true, So here's the next question. It is beamed in from Faith Howell. We love Faith Howell, really cool. She says, for Ryan, Cirroc, Melissa, and Denise, this is a toughie, who has been the best guest you have had on The Seventh Rule so far, and why? What guest have we never had on who you think would be amazing to interview? Note, you can't say Denise. She's not a guest. She's family. Those are Faith's words. That is Faith Howell, everybody. And she's right, of course. So it's a two-parter, a quickie two-parter. Best guest and who would be amazing to have on.
Man, you've had some, that was always the kind of jaw dropper, where just these incredible guests you
really
had.
was. I'll go down the list really quickly so we can refresh our memory.
Yeah.
We had Armin Shimmerman for The Last Outpost. We had Eric Menyuk for Where No One Has Gone Before. We had Michael Westmore for Lonely Among Us. We had Rod Roddenberry and James L. Conway for Justice. We had Armin back again. We had, let me see, Harvey Jason for The Big Goodbye. We had, I think I know Denise's answer. We had Leonard Crowfoot for Angel One. We also had Dennis Matalone. Oh, no, that was for a Deep Space Nine one, but we'd love to have Dennis Matalone back on The Next Generation. We had Dr. Mohamed Noor for Home Soil. We had the great John Putch for Coming of Age. He was Mordok and Mendon. We had Vaughn Armstrong in Heart of Glory. We had writer Deborah Dean Davis for We'll Always Have Paris. Scott McDonald. Damn, that's another Deep Space Nine one. I need to get my notes in order here. We had Michael Westmore back for Conspiracy. James L. Conway back for The Neutral Zone. We had Dr. Mohamed Noor back for Unnatural Selection, Michael Westmore for A Matter of Honor, Denise and Melinda Snodgrass for The Measure of a Man, Larry Nemechek for Contagion, Dan Curry for Q Who, writer Robert McCullough for Samaritan Snare, Dr. Mohamed Noor for Up the Long Ladder, and Eric Stillwell for Shades of Grey. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. This, I loved seeing Eric Menyuk. I had not seen him in a long time. And, just the beauty of the man's soul was really very touching, and the work he's doing and, what he did in his legal profession. And it really mirrored who he was playing in the show, which I thought was extraordinary. And I was really, really genuinely happy to see him. John Putch, I, again, hadn't seen in a really long time. And he was a delight. He was just joyful and cheerful. And I've been thinking about him a lot in this last day because of the death of Norman Lear, and who, John's mother worked with for so many years, Miss Stapleton. So the other thing, Vaughn Armstrong, who I've known and seen continually through our, con appearances and get-togethers. But what was so unique for me was the opportunity to tell him how good he was in the episode, how his acting, I'd forgotten, I hadn't seen his acting in all these years. It's like we connect at these, like sort of what Cirroc was saying, we know each other as people because we're in this world together, this very unique club we belong to. And years go, by. I mean, I've known Vaughn for 35 years, but I hadn't seen his work in all this time. So that was like, damn, I got the opportunity to let him know that how moving he was. And of course, Leonard Crowfoot. That was just, what a spirit, what a beautiful story he had, and what a light in his life. He has shining brightly, and just glee within the man's soul. And it was just so delightful to witness. We were all so giddy after he left.
It was like we'd just seen Santa Claus. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
he left and we couldn't get back to record in the second segment because we were just talking about what a wonderful soul he was. I just want to echo that. Leonard Crowfoot, definitely, he's the one that stands out for me just because, it was kind of a character that wasn't as memorable as many others in the past, but it was the person. He just had this energy and this love and this joy and this positivity that was really infectious that, made me wish that they had figured out a way to keep him coming back. He does come back in 2 more Star Trek episodes, The Offspring in The Next Generation later on. He plays Lal, and then he plays something, I can't remember, something in Voyager as well. But also Vaughn Armstrong, just because he's such a nice guy. He's such a cool and nice guy. And, I want him to really get the kudos that he deserves. And so hopefully people will give him those kudos when they see him at conventions, because he's such a good guy. What do you think, Cirroc? Any favorites? They're all favorites, by the
way. They're all favorites. Everybody
Exactly.
has a unique story, and so I don't think I would rank it in that way. I would just think about memories that I have. One of the things that I remember about Leonard Crowfoot was him overcoming his disability as a young person and entering into ballet and becoming successful and really just overcoming adversity. And I think that's the testament to everybody out there who's struggling to find, overcome whatever adversity they have in life and whatever challenges that they may struggle with. That was one of the beautiful stories about Leonard that I thought was amazing. But I also think of somebody like Michael Westmore, who, has such a tradition and comes from this legacy of makeup artist that, is generational. And for him to tell his story and also to see the amount of passion that he does his work with and the creativity on the fly, that also makes me think of Dan Curry and how he has shared so many wonderful stories with us about, making batlets or whatever he was doing, just doing crazy things. And so, I think everybody, they bring so much to the table. And that's one of the remarkable things about Star Trek that people can identify and find themselves kind of featured in, is that it reflects so many different elements of society that anybody who's watching it can find somewhere there that they can reflect to, that they can attach to themselves, they can see themselves in. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that Star Trek has done for, civilization in general, is being an inspiration for people to approach the sciences or approach their arts, the arts, or approach other kinds of things that they're interested in. And using Star Trek as a platform for that, this is why I entered into this profession, or this was the inspiration for me to do these things that I've done in my life. And so, all of the guests have been so amazing.
Shockingly great. Really
shockingly
lucky, right?
Great. And to answer the second part of that question about who I would like to have come in and share some stories with. One of the persons that is Rob Bowman.
Yes.
Come up.
Yeah.
Me too.
All these episodes. I would love to talk with Rob Bowman about his experience, about setting a stylistic kind of trend for the visualizations and what we saw, and how he was able to kind of be the blueprint for visual of what Star Trek ended up becoming. So those are the questions. Those are the people that I would like to see. Also, the late great BC Fontana. Obviously, I would have loved to have had a chance to interview her, to talk about her being a pioneer in the space of science fiction writers for women, and I would love to talk with her about that as well. So unfortunately we can't, but we can definitely see her fingerprint all over
totally
Next Generation.
Yeah, Rob Bowman was such a young prodigy too. Like, he was a kid when he was direct. I mean, we love to get him. What about you, Melissa? Do you have some people that stood out, or somebody that you'd like to see?
Well, you've pretty much mentioned all of them. Leonard Crowfoot, I thought he was amazing, and as everyone here has mentioned, because he was such a light, he has such a light inside, and it's so bright and infectious and warm and lovely and giving. And I won't even talk about his buns, but but yes, and I love the whole ballet aspect, and as a former dancer, I love everything that has to do with dance, and it would be wonderful to see him on stage and see him perform in something and see him fly, because men just fly on stage when in ballet. But also Vaughn Armstrong as well, because he's amazing. I love Vaughn so much. And every time I see him, I'm just like, oh, you are wonderful. You're just lovely. He's a lovely, lovely person. And I love seeing him get his well-deserved kudos, because he is a phenomenal actor too. I would like to mention Armin as well, because he's Uncle. And he's amazing. He's an amazing human. As well as Melinda Snodgrass. She was very impressive in her interview, and I learned so much from her, and I love hearing about how she took her experiences with law and translated that to the page. And that's so smart, and she did it so intelligently, and that was really wonderful. But as you said, there were so many great guests: Dan Curry, Michael Westmore. All of these seasoned masters at their craft are wonderful to hear from and learn from. Somebody I'd like to see come talk with us would be Susie Plaxton, if possible.
Me too.
And Shannon Phil, I believe her name is. She plays Sita Jaxa.
Yes.
I think that's her name. I'd like to see her come on too, because
Sita Jaxa.
She's in one of my favorite TNG episodes ever. So Lower Decks. So
Shannon Phil, yep. Sito Jackson. That's good stuff. So here's a quickie for y'all. This one is to Denise.
Uh-oh.
Denise, did you know there's an episode where they visit Tasha's homeworld and meet her sister? It's called Legacy from the 4th season. Hope you'll join the guys for that one. Thanks for a great podcast, folks. It's been a blast discovering this in the pandemic, inspiring me to rewatch this. This is from Birch Pereira. So you've heard of this one, Denise?
Yes. So I haven't seen it. So I would love to jump on board with you guys when you get there. I think that would be really, really fun. I'm not even going to comment about it, because I mean, that just opens so many thoughts for me. I want to see how they address this, how they bring this sister of mine out and in. And the actress who plays her, if you remind me, I've met.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and she's lovely. And I met her in Vegas a couple years ago at the con. And that was, she just gave me a hug, like as if we were sisters. It's not a good thing, because it's in your subconscious in some way. So that would be really, really fun to see.
I would have liked if it was an identical twin sister. That would have.
Right. And then so Denise can just come back to the show.
I'm Yasha.
Right?
Yeah. Well, you're close. This one's like Yashara.
Yasha Yar.
Yasha Yar. I'm her sister.
Like, the Patty Duke show, but, on Star Trek. We could do the walk alike, talk alike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, It would be good.
She needed a twin. Come on,
Then I
guys.
would have played the twin sister, the daughter,
mom, the daughter.
mother. Oh my God.
Hey, Cirroc, we've got a question for you. You're not going to escape this one either.
Uh-oh.
So this one says, we're going to put two together here. This one says, Dear the Seventh Rule team, thank you for doing this mailbag episode. This question is for Cirroc. In seeing Wesley's development over the first two seasons of The Next Generation as the child of a single mother in Dr. Crusher, what similarities and differences do you see to Jake's development over the course of Deep Space Nine as the child of a single father? Happy holidays, Trevor J. Yan and Nancy Good. We're going to combine that one with this one. This question is for Cirroc. Looking at Wesley Crusher during seasons 1 and 2, do you think Jake Sisko would have gotten along with him? Possibly even being friends. Thanks. Love the show. Phil M.
Yeah, I think that Jake would get along with Wesley. I think that's Wesley's a good kid.
They both
and
are.
I think he got a really bad rap. Now that I've watched him in these first two seasons, yes, he was a little bit of a problem solver and maybe a little too much so, perhaps. But that's how they wrote his character. I thought he played it very well. I thought his acting was exceptional for a young kid and not around all of these adults, holding his own. I enjoyed watching Wesley kind of mature into this role on the bridge. One of the big differences is that he was almost playing somebody who was unwanted. Like they didn't want him around in some way. Captain's like, what is this kid? Get this kid out of here. And I don't think they wrote Jake's character like that. It was more like, only Odo didn't want me around. But, everybody else was fine with me. So I think they were more sensitive to that. And I didn't have the boy genius kind of thing to live up to that he had, that Wesley had. Wesley was carrying the weight of having to be this really super smart kid. And my expectations weren't that high. So that was good for me because it allowed me to, just flourish and be myself and find my own way. And so I think that was one of the good things about it. But Jake, has he's open to making friends with everybody. And, Wesley would have been no different. He would have been really cool to hang out with Wesley and play in the hollow suites and throw snowballs at, out the captain, just like everybody else.
Jake would have gotten him to Jake and Nog would have gotten Wesley to loosen up a bit, but he would kind of clean them up a bit too. He'd be like, I don't know if we should be breaking the rules or whatever. Hey, we got to go in just a second here. Do you guys, can we do one rapid fire one real super quick? This question is for the group. What were you pleasantly surprised by? Love, Anne Marie. Very quickly, what were you pleasantly surprised by? I think for me, I could say maybe Dr. Pulaski was, I don't remember really caring about her character as a kid. I was just like, you're not Dr. Crusher. You're weird. You're crotchety. And I don't like most people, including you. But she was fine. She was cool. It's obviously nothing on the actress. And you could actually see the character development in one season that could have gotten even more. I was pleasantly surprised by that. What about you guys?
I've been pleasantly surprised by how much of an impact Whoopi Goldberg's character has made with such little screen time. She doesn't really get any focal point. She's not a plot or B plot of any stories really, but she is impactful. Her presence is felt. She has very good moments with people. I remember the Riker moment where they're flirting. I thought that was an excellent moment between the two of them.
Love that.
And also like the moment in Measure of a Man when she's talking with Picard about the kind of racism that Data is experiencing. And I thought her pointing that out was great. So just the impact that she has made with very limited amount of screen time, I thought I've been pleasantly surprised by Whoopi Goldberg's performances.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I was, I was really surprised about the subjects we touched on, that were sort of subtly introduced, but when they were there, they were really strong and progressive. Whether we would touch upon the drug wars, the drug situation, the addiction, the climate crisis, the impending threat of the environment, how these we had to be stewards of this couldn't be taken for granted, or introducing non-binary creatures, and that were not even allowed to exist in 1986 in any matter of speaking, and things that they were touching upon, whether it's feminism, and it was there, it was wanting to be born, and it was in the consciousness, and people were thinking about it, and we were certainly feeling it as artists. And sometimes it hit, and sometimes it missed, and sometimes it wasn't explored enough and followed through, but it was a beginning. It was a beginning. Totally. And and you see it then.
Anything to add, Malissa Longo?
Well, I will add that I was pleasantly surprised by everything each of you have said. You all took my answer as you were saying it. Dr. Pulaski, amazing. She was so much better than I thought she would have been, and her character growth was really kind of great during her short run. Whoopi Goldberg, I love her, and I have a story about her when I met her 2 times, but that's for another time. And yes, the progressive themes that this show promotes is so amazing, and it's wonderful to see at that time of our history. So pretty awesome.
Great stuff. Now, everybody, we've got to hop over to the free-for-all, but very quickly, let's say a very special thanks to our good friends, Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan. Titus Mohler, Darlena Marie, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anna Post, Anil O. Polat, Justine Norton-Kertson, Joe Balsarotti, Mike Gu, Dequeue, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, live from Tokyo, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Henry Unger, Allyson Leach-Heid, Julie Manisfee, Marcia Classic Schreier, Greg K. Wickstrom, Jed Thompson, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner and Jason Okun. All right, everybody, stick around. We've got the free-for-all up next. They're banging on the wall. They're like, let us in. And we're like, hang on, wait for it. We'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
This is the free-for-all. It's going to be nuts. Malissa Longo's back, of course.
Hello.
We've got Jason Okun, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Allyson Leach-Heid. We have Anil O. Polat somewhere in the world. He's always traveling. Faith Howell is here, of course. We have Mai live in Tokyo. Carrie Schwent with the cool background. We've got Chris McGee and the Matt Boardman. Let's see. No non-appearance mentions. No guessing the IMDb. Don't guess the IMDb score of this particular episode. of our show. Let's
it's
just
10.
Yeah.
That's my line.
I know.
Cirroc, do you want to start us off with a question here?
Yeah, I do want to start everybody off with a question. And it actually, it's in line with what you just finished saying, which is about the IMDb and the NAMs. And that is, when you guys are watching the show, do you think, what are some of the things that you think about while watching? For example, the NAMs, the IMDb scores, maybe notable quotes when you hear them. Chris likes to always have the famous quote of the episode. So what are the things you're looking for to check on your checklist of things?
Good question. What do you think, Jason?
Well, honestly, it depends what I'm watching the episodes for. Because if you're just sitting back and kicking back and trying to relax at night, you're looking for different things than when you're trying to discuss or analyze. Are you putting your thinking cap on, or are you just kicking back? Now, for something like this, I mean, having seen these episodes many, many times, I don't look at them the same way I did earlier. So I may look at, how was the episode shot? Am I being entertained in a way that, is the camera moving well? How are the performances? Even how are the background actors arranged? Is there something happening in the frame that shouldn't be happening in the frame? How does it work with the score? How does it all come together? And ultimately, what is this episode about? Mm-hmm. So those are the things that I look for when I watch these episodes.
That tracks. That sounds like a Jason answer, I'd say. What about you, Sue?
Well, I think the main thing I look for is literally just pure entertainment value. And if there's something misogynistic in an episode, it doesn't matter if it's Star Trek or anything else. I notice that right away. But when it comes to Star Trek, it's entertainment. And that's the main thing that I look for. Of course, I notice clothes, things like that. Fake food, blue food. What the hell are they coloring food blue for? But that's all part of loving Star Trek. There's so many cool things about it. Even when it's bad, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So right. Actually, Malissa, what about you? You're going to ask a question, but this is a good answer for you.
Oh, what do I look for?
Yeah.
Connection. Mostly character connection. From the people that I'm watching, because I want to be invested in the lives of those that I'm investing my time in. So, connection.
Excellent. We get stressed when there's not a good connection on the recordings. It's so true. What about you, Allyson Leach-Heid?
So it's kind of changed from when I first started with you guys in the middle of season 1. I was really into like how many lines the ladies had. So I would like tick them off, like how many lines, and how many times. I had a special little category for myself about how many times Tasha said, "I, sir," or "Yes, sir." And it was usually half her lines of the episode was just her saying that. And so I was like checking that off and seeing how that progressed over the season. Like it changed towards the end of the season. The ladies got more lines. It wasn't like, 5 in an episode. It was, actual moving the plot along. So that was something I was looking for in the beginning, but mostly it's entertainment. How are the characters progressing? And is it making me laugh or think? That's what I look for now.
Allyson, keeping receipts. What about you, Anil O. Polat? Good to see you.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess I kind of look for what makes the episode unique. Like the episodes I don't like are the ones that don't seem to have that point or something that's different or a twist or something like that makes you invested in what's going on in the episode. So I think that's kind of what I look for. And then when I rewatch the episodes, I get to see more of like, how are they, like the people who wrote this, like how are they trying to get that point across, right? How are they like how do all the other, like I'm kind of stupid. So like when I watch the episode, like I just get like the big point or I don't. But then as I watch them over and over, I start to see like all these little side things. And then watching everybody else's opinion and seeing it, I start to see like all the little things that kind of build toward what could be like something very basic or something complicated. So I'm always looking for that one little hook that will get me into the episode, or it'll just be kind of like, nah.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Anil. Faith Howell, what about you? What are you looking for? We got IMDb scores. We got non-appearance mentions. What are you looking at?
I'm always looking for those ships, those relationships.
Good twist. I was surprised.
Nice.
Yeah, y'all know me. Yeah, and I'm with Sue. I really like looking at what they chose, like the props department, as far as what futuristic or alien food's going to look like. And I've noticed a lot of it I had on my table in Korea, oddly enough. So it's very interesting. Like I can see connections with the Asian markets in that area. It must be a lot of them. It must be pretty good. So yeah, that's mainly it. I like to watch the characters develop and wonder what on earth they were thinking in some of the first season episodes, because they don't match my memory going forward. But yeah, that's it.
Good stuff. It's all about that ship. No trouble. Mai is live in Tokyo. What's up? What about you, Mai? What do you think?
I don't really watch it for something. It's interesting. What I've noticed about my interaction with Star Trek is that when I watched TNG for the first time in my 20s until now, every time I've watched it or every time I've watched any of the other series, Star Trek has decided what it wants to tell me. I put myself in front of the TV, and the writers, the actors have all put so much into it. There's so many layers and levels that when I was in my 20s and I knew this, I got this message. When I was in my 40s and I knew more, it spoke to me about different things, references perhaps later as the years have gone by. Earlier, some values. Different things have come to me at different times from the different series. And it's more about what it's telling me and what I'm ready to absorb from it, more than what I'm looking for when I watch it itself.
Right. Thank you very much. Just laughing at something Matt Boardman just typed in our Zoom chat. What about you, Carrie Schwent? Your thoughts?
I come at it from a couple different angles. I watch them twice. First time just to sort of rewatch it, just see where the story is going to go. Maybe get couple ideas or two percolated in the back for whatever is going to bubble to the surface for the limerick. And then I go through it a second time and I document everything, like if I notice something in the background or spot an actor, in a cameo type role that I know from this, and this, because I watch so many things. So I get all excited when I spot somebody from a different show or that I recognize. Kind of my superpower. And yeah, just look for and see what's gonna inspire the limerick. Sometimes it's come from some unexpected places, which has been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Carrie. What about you, Chris McGee? What do you got? Oh, and cool shirt, by the way. We're matching. Cool hoodie. Everybody, you can get your very own. Anil O. Polat is legit matching with me too. Wow. Everybody at home, you can get your very own Seventh Rule shirt at our Seventh Rule Teespring store. Click the link in the comments below. You can get my shirt, Anil's shirt. You can get Chris's hoodie. You could get Allyson Leach-Hyde's Ferengi Eyes shirt. Sue is showing off a shirt from Malissa Longo that you could get at theintrovertedrepublic.com. Same thing as Melissa's shirt and Mai's shirt. Wow, good job, everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Chris, you were saying?
Don't apologize. So Cirroc pretty much nailed it there. I'm always looking for the quote of the episode or the season nowadays, because I've seen these episodes so many times. So to piggyback off of what Jason was saying, yeah, I'm very easily entertained. And so when I first watched these as a teenager, it was just for the entertainment value. But now that I'm older, especially after having listened to all of you guys during these free-for-alls, I'm now starting to see things I've never really noticed before, especially since I've watched so many movies and TV shows since I was a teenager. So now I'm seeing little techniques in cinematography, for example. Oh, they did that all in one take. Or if there's a good actor, oh my goodness, you can actually see what he's thinking just by, examining his facial expressions. Things I never noticed before when I watched these the first dozen times or so. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for now is seeing all these neat little kind of behind the scenes things that I never noticed before, as well as, of course, the quote of the episode, the notable quote.
Oh yeah.
You're right back.
All right, Matt, what do you got for us?
Well, I've always had this issue where I'm like paying attention to the sets and looking how they build the sets and how they were painted and everything. And so then I have to go back and rewatch it because I'm like, oh yeah, people were talking during that moment. I probably missed something important. So, but I'm fascinated by, especially with Next Generation, to watch how the sets progress from season 1 to season 2. And sometimes it's just subtle little changes. For example, from season 1 to season 2, they changed the side panels on the bridge from that kind of darkish brown, almost wood paneling kind of thing that's straight out of the 80s and 70s to more of a padded, looks kind of like, you could be hiding some computer servers back behind there. Carpet changes, color, just various things like that. And honestly, since we've started doing these reviews, one of the things that I appreciate that Jason has always talked about is camera angles and how they've shot that. And now I find myself paying more attention and then looking and seeing, okay, who directed this episode and trying to see if I can, because I'd like to think I'm pretty good about picking out who did what music. Like I've identified the major Trek composers, and I can tell you by listening to music, okay, that was Jay Chataway, that was Dennis McCarthy, that was David Bell. I know those people, but now I'm like, okay, can I identify who directed this episode based on how it was shot?
Mm-hmm. Wow, I bet Jason probably can. I bet with 80% efficiency, without knowing, Jason could watch and be like, that looks like Bob Bowman. That's oh yeah, that is classic Bowman. All right, well, let's do another question. What do you got for us, Malissa?
Okay, so out of the aliens we've seen just in the first 2 seasons of Next Gen, which would you be?
You guys, that is like the exact question I wanted to ask. That's freaking awesome. That's so cool. That's awesome. All right. Let's go back over to what do you think? First 2 seasons of the Next Generation, which alien would you want to be?
I think probably, given that I'm now in the latter stages of my life, I would want more. So probably Q, to be honest.
Wow.
She's going right to the top.
That's awesome. Why not?
Yeah, I want some infinity going on with this whole life thing. I'm digging it, so I don't want to.
What about you, Carrie Schwent?
I feel like I'm halfway there already, but probably Betazoid. When one of y'all start crying, it's guaranteed I'm gonna start right up there with you. So I'm half Betazoid already, I feel like.
Yeah. Chris McGee, would you want to be Betazoid, but for sinister reasons?
But you're crafty Betazoid.
That's right.
Yeah. Actually, Mike kind of stole my idea of being a Q there, so I'm going to go with one that's not quite so obvious. Maybe an elastomorph, so I could transform myself to whatever I want to be at any time, no matter what size, etc. I find that idea fascinating.
Good knowledge. You could be a Care Bear, an Ewok, a Wookiee, any of those guys. Be friends with Worf. Matt Boardman, what do you think? Is it a Selle, and why?
I was actually thinking about that or maybe a Binar,
Yes.
that would be kind of, I could do all my visual effects with tapping right into the computer and just think it and make it happen. No. Funny enough, I've always wondered what it would be like to be dressed up as a Klingon and have somebody do the full makeup process. And just, I don't know, I think it's so fascinating. And Virtual TrekCon, I don't forget how long ago it was, did one with, we don't see them in these seasons, but you guys had Tracy Lee Coco on and made her up as a Cardassian. And that process fascinated me so much that I'm I wonder if it's the same kind of thing as somebody gets prepared to be a Klingon.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. And everybody at home, Matt's 6'3". He's a hulking specimen. He'd be a great Klingon.
Yeah.
But then he'd hug them and they wouldn't be scared anymore. What about you, Sue? What do you think? Klingon, Binar, where are you on this?
I'm blowing you all away here. I am going for Rubicon 3, one of the scantily clad 20-something-year-old women. That's it. Mic drop.
All right.
Yes.
We just got some serious insight into Sue's home life when the camera's not on.
Mm-hmm. I think it's best if I don't comment on that and just move right along to Allyson. Yeah, I'm not going to get myself in trouble. Allyson, what do you think?
Oh, Vulcan. Probably because I've always wanted to be an elf. So Vulcan.
Oh.
I can get in Star Trek.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah, Vulcans and elves. When you see Elnor, right, in Picard, you're like, is that Elnor or Elrond?
True.
What's going on around here? What do you think, Anil? Vulcan, Romulan?
I guess I'll go with Klingon because I really like the episode where Riker spends that time on the Klingon ship, and I think it'd be fun to be a space Viking. It seems like it'd be a lot of partying going on, a lot of fighting. It seems like it'd be kind of fun. It'd be like Vegas, just in space.
Excellent.
Kapla!
Faith Howell, what about you? What do you think?
Without more time to think about it, my quick top 3 would be half human, half Klingon, like Kalar, because she was pretty awesome.
Can I just stop you here? You are such a Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons person where you start going with half already. You're like half elf ranger.
Hey, if anybody wants to play, call me. I've never played. I would like to. Second choice would be Luoxana style Betazoid, full Betazoid, because the older you get, the more fabulous. And it's my third choice. I lost it. I have to come back to it. I had another one. All right. But yeah.
Jason Okun's going to buy you a little bit of time for that third one. What do you got for us, Jason?
Well, first of all, I'm shocked nobody wants to be a pack lad. Just those aliens. More seriously, I think Mai stole my thunder. It's good to be the king. So Q would be my go-to, but then you can be anybody you want to be. You can be Klingon one day, Romulan another. You can even be one of those crystalline specks and look at ugly bags of mostly water. Be anything you want.
Excellent. Very good. Thanks, Jason. Faith, did you remember?
Yes, I remembered. I would like to be, I can't remember what they're called, Guinan. Excessively long-lived. Yes, that would be great.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Of course, Maya and I might not be able to be friends at that point. Sorry. Might be worth it.
What about you, Cirroc? What do you think? Ferengi? Zach Dorn? Benzite?
Whatever alien Riker is, what is that? Because that thing is really
the Horn Doggians.
Yes. Whatever that species is.
The three-legged chair sitters.
Also like those aliens that had the glow. Remember when he was glowing, his hands were glowing when he was kind of freezing Riker's chest.
Weren't they the drug addicts?
I thought they were the drug dealers.
It's okay.
Never mind. The dealers.
Well, looks like we do have time for one more question in this segment here, which is great. So here's a fun one for everybody to enjoy. The question is, we've all seen all of these episodes or most of them because Eve England is not here. Otherwise, she'd be telling us. By the way, she says hello to everybody, though. She couldn't make it, but she does say hello. And she's excited to move on into season 3. But the question is, what was better this time around than you remember it? Which is tough for people that have seen it a dozen or so times. Jason, what was better this time around?
That's a tough question to answer, especially for the second season.
Or first.
Or the first, for that matter. But, that's a tough one to really kind of bite into. I've gotten worse impressions of certain episodes, for sure, when I looked at them even more critically. But yeah, if I had to single anything out, I found Pen Pals to be a little bit better than I remembered. Not a standout, but it was more kind of a poignant story. I mean, it does have holes in it, like a lot of stories do. But I think if I had to single anything out that was better than I remembered it, it would be Pen Pals.
Was the first episode you called cute? I remember.
Good knowledge.
Said cute.
First time for everything, right?
Yeah.
He's regretting it now. Sue, what about you? What was better than you remember it?
Have they recolorized all of those episodes? Because that's the first thing I noticed is that they seem more colorful. And somebody was talking about the carpet. Did they change the carpet from one season to another? Am I?
Yeah.
Did I totally go right over my head? Jesus. Well, I noticed, I would say mainly the color. There's also some bad shows in the first season.
That's okay. It'll get better, I bet, hopefully.
It does get better. We end up, at least I totally miss them and welcome them into my woman cave every time I watch.
Allyson Leach-Heid, what's better than you remember it this time around?
Pulaski.
Oh, right.
I enjoyed her so much more as an adult than as a child. I have, of course, seen all of these a lot in between those two times, but going through and looking at a critical eye at all the episodes, I'm like, Pulaski is a great character. Diane Muldaur did a wonderful job of portraying her, and I'm glad we got her. Sad we had to lose Gates to get her, but I was glad we had her. So that was my surprise for season 2. I'm like, yeah, actually, I really like her. She had a great character arc.
Yeah. Anil O. Polat, what do you think? Pack-Leds better than you remember them?
Yeah, the Pack-Leds are better than I remember them. But also, I was surprised at how many memorable moments there are in the first 2 seasons. Like, kind of when you look back at TNG, a lot of fans like just completely discount season 1 and 2. But there's a lot of memorable stuff and a lot of good stuff in there that kind of, they use some things later on. But I was surprised at how many like memorable quotes, how many memorable scenes, how many, aliens things show up. So yeah, I guess that makes it better than maybe what's on the screen is when kind of like, these are like some pretty nice scenes or interactions or whatever, and these characters are going to get a lot better. So yeah.
Thanks, Anil. Faith Howell, what was better than you remember it?
The best thing about watching this time has been you guys. I know that's a cheat answer, but it's the truth. I mean, I've seen it so many times, And getting to come on here every week and talk to you guys has been the absolute best reason to watch Trek. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Faith is our ringer. What was better this time around?
I think getting to know the characters through talks, listening to them talk at various shows over the years since I last watched TNG. You're rooting for Marina in a different way because you've seen her be a smartass on conventions, and you get to see her as a person instead of just a character. And like, why doesn't she have better lines? Or talking with Denise and getting to know what she was thinking. The characters themselves have become the people that play the characters in many instances, and that's changed it dramatically. And also a huge shout out to Eve, because Picard has definitely tanked, in my opinion, this time around. So, and that's been fun too. That's been a lot of fun watching that. So
everybody picks on Picard, and they don't pick
He
softly.
deserves it, though.
They pick hard.
Picard at him because he's so.
Carrie, what about you? What do you think?
Definitely echo Allyson a little bit with Pulaski going in depth as I do when I take my notes. Just liking her, even though I was critical of her in the beginning of the season, I enjoyed her a little bit more this time around. And also Will Wheaton, Wesley, just seeing him in other roles, like on the Big Bang Theory and his social media stuff as an adult. I'm enjoying watching him mature as an actor from this early, very early on in his career. So I'm really appreciating watching him grow even more this time around.
Excellent. Thank you, Carrie. Chris McGee, your thoughts?
Well, like you said, it's kind of tough after you've seen the show a dozen times or more. But I kind of agree with Carrie that seeing Wesley's the character in a new light, now that I'm grown up myself, I can see that the writing for him was definitely not the best, but the actor Will Wheaton was putting his best foot forward for the most part. So I think that, that's something that I appreciate now that I'm rewatching these, and specifically pen pals, but not for the same reason that Jason noted, but it's because of Will Wheaton's going through imposter syndrome, in that I had brought that up before during our review of that episode. It just speaks so much to me now as an adult, especially in the last 2 years, where I'm experiencing that head on in my career. So I really appreciated seeing that now. I thought it was much better than it was when I watched it 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Thank you very much. Maddie B., what about you?
Well, I have to echo Faith in that, watching with all of you has made this a very enjoyable experience, and a different experience, because being exposed to the unique positions and different positions that you all bring to the table has made it more enjoyable. I love having those insights, and then coming back and watching an episode and then going, oh yeah, I can see what they were talking about there, what why they would think that. And the other thing too for me has been Pulaski. I mean, I'm watching this season before, I always was like, oh gosh, we just got to get through this, because I didn't really, she was always so grumpy and so the antithesis of everybody else, I thought, but I really appreciated her character this time around and what she brought to the season as a whole, and it is kind of unfortunate that we didn't get to see more of her.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like the episode Home Soil. She ages well, right? Was it Home Soil? I don't remember. Was it that one? I don't know what episode.
Unnatural selection.
Same. Whatever.
Say goodbye.
Yeah, she didn't.
I know.
All right. Well, thanks very much, everybody. We've got more questions for you in Things Left Unsaid, so stick around. Everybody at home, If you are watching this as a patron or donor, just check out our next segment. Everybody else, hey, thanks for hanging out with us. It's been great. No, I mean, really, it's been great. Thanks to Matt, Chris, Carrie, Mai, Sue, Allyson, Anil, Faith, and Jason. For myself, Cirroc Lofton, Melissa Longo, Denise Crosby, and of course, Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all very much for joining us. Really appreciate you. And we'll see you next time. Always remember the 7th rule.